If we don't win on Tuesday, that's the end of Stephanie, right? But she has done an amazing job. I think we're doing really well based on everything I'm hearing. We have tremendous enthusiasm. We have tremendous support. Different areas, I mean, we have different folks for different strokes, frankly, because there's some areas where it looks like it's just uniform Trump. And we have others which we're actually campaigning in a little bit to see if we can get them over. You know, I was coming in today and I thought it was important to mention, I'm self-funding my campaign. I'm putting up my own money, right? And Cruz and Kasich are, and everybody. I mean, you know, every politician, nobody self-funds. I don't think anybody's self-funded probably since Ross Perot, I guess. I don't know. But I'm self-funding my campaign. And I said to my people today, I don't think it is worth it. Now, I'm doing it, and I'm not going to change. You know, we're doing it all through the whole thing. We'll find out what happens at the end of this beautiful process. And I love this process. It's an amazing process. I like a primary more than a caucus. I think a caucus is a little crazy when somebody goes in, and if you don't have the right people standing there, they get taken over, and I don't really like that process. It just doesn't seem to be right. Now, maybe because I seem to do so well. You know, we've won, I think, 22 states already, which is fantastic. 22 states. And we've won some caucus states, too, in all fairness. But there's something about walking in, voting, and leaving. Do we agree? It's something that's going home. But I will say, I was coming in today, and we just landed, and we're driving over. And I said, you know, I spent a lot of money. I mean, it's money that I fully intended to spend. Actually, I thought I would have been a lot more by this time because I haven't had to advertise, because the media has given me so much. You know, they called it earned media, earned. And it's been so much. And frankly, the more you do, it's like a free ad. Would you like to do a show? Yeah, I'll do a show. It's like a free ad, okay? It's like a long free ad. But they've given me a lot of that, and we've done very well, and I'm very happy about it. But I don't think that it's been worth it from the true standpoint. And that's not to change. But I just said, I'm going to start telling people I'm self-funding. Because what self-funding means is that I'm not controlled by the pharmaceutical companies. I'm not controlled by lumber. I'm not controlled by electric. I'm not controlled by anybody. I'm controlled by you. I'm controlled by you. And I'm controlled by Sarah Palin, too, of course. That's okay. But we're not controlled, and it's such a big thing. And, you know, fortunately, I built a great company, and it's been an amazing company. I filed the documents, and it's some of the great assets of the world. Some just tremendous cash flow, and very little debt. And that's, you know, I say that not in a bragging way. I say that because that's the kind of thinking we need in the United States. We don't have that thinking. We don't have that thinking. And frankly, so I really, I felt it was very interesting to say, and I'm going to mention from now on self-funding, because all of these people are controlled. Like Ted Cruz, he put his personal financial disclosure form in. And he forgot. Well, they want me to act presidential. They don't want me to call him Lion Ted, okay? Lion Ted. No, they want me to act. My wife actually said, now you're with Sarah today. You have to act very presidential. And Sarah would never say Lion Ted, right? But people do like it. No, I'm being honest, okay? You know, don't forget what Ted Cruz did to Ben Carson, who endorsed me, by the way, and he's a great guy. Ben Carson was running a great campaign in Iowa, doing fantastically well. And Ted Cruz announced during the election, I don't mean like 3 days before, or a day before when you could recover. He said during the election that he's gone, he's out, he's quit. He's not doing, now he didn't quit, he never quits. If you know me, he's not a quitter, that I can tell you. He was giving me a lot of trouble. He was right there. We're going one, and he's right there. I said, boy, we're having a hard time with Ben. But tougher, really tougher than anybody else. But Ben was in a campaign, and the election comes, and it's a caucus, and the people walk into the caucus, sit down, let us tell you something, Ben Carson has left the race. And they said, really? Oh, but I wanted to vote for him, but he's left the race. And, you know, potentially, who knows how many, but thousands of people voted for Cruz instead of Carson, but that's, you know, really bad. And then Cruz said he knew nothing about it. And of course, he called Ben and apologized about 12 seconds after the voting ended. Said, oh, good, what can we do about that? Now, nothing. Because it's so, I mean, they should have done something. And frankly, they should have disqualified. Or the voter form, if you saw the voter form, that was, to me, worse. A voter form that was put out in Iowa. I mean, there were so many things. So we say that. But I will say this, look, Ted didn't disclose that he's borrowed money at a very, very low interest rate because, I guess, maybe because he's a senator that has anything to do with it for whatever reason. He borrowed money from Goldman Sachs. He borrowed money, a lot of money, from Citibank, and he didn't disclose it in his personal financial disclosure form. And then he goes around to have an audience like this, and he'll say that, you know, folks, we are going to take care of those banks, those bad banks. Sure, he's going to be Robin Hood, okay? He's going to help everybody. He's going to be Robin Hood, but he didn't disclose that he's borrowing with the banks. And believe me, anybody in this room would love to get the interest rate that he's paying. It was like close to zero. And you got to disclose that stuff. So there's such deception, such lying. In fact, when Sarah came in today, I saw her this morning, and we were talking for a little while. I said, this politics is really dishonest business. They say things. And I'll go into it because I'm all about making America great again. Very simple. Very simple. I did a show this morning with a very good radio show with a, thank you, I love you too. Stand up. Let me, thank you, darling. I love you too. And the radio host, great radio host, and the radio host said to me, Mr. John, at the end, you know, for 25 minutes, I'm talking about all sorts of things, and you know, it's early on Saturday morning, and where are you going? I'm going to Wisconsin, I'm getting on the plane. He said, let me ask you a question. You have a great family. You're worth more than $10 billion. You can do anything you want to do. Why are you doing this? Right? Why are you doing this? He actually said it. And believe it or not, I get that question a lot. I also get it from my family, to be honest with you. You know, when I say I'm up at 4 in the morning because I have to leave early because I'm making a speech in some faraway place. And, you know, they do say, why? Why do you do this? And the people that know me know why I'm doing it. And our whole theme is making America great again. And it's a tough, this politics is a tough business because you can say things one way and the press will criticize you horribly. You say it another way and the press will criticize you horribly. You talk about NAFTA, which I'm going to talk about, and you talk about NATO, and you talk about different things that I actually know. I know so much. When I look at NAFTA, what NAFTA has done to this country is so incredible. Now you're going to have Trans-Pacific Partnership, which Ted Cruz totally supports, which Kasich totally supports. And Kasich, to go a step worse, because he's older, said he voted, and he didn't say it, it's a fact, he voted for NAFTA. NAFTA took the guts out of our country. Not only in Wisconsin, but you go to New England and you see those empty factories, and they move to Mexico and various places, and you take a look at NAFTA. Now, Trans-Pacific is going to be far worse than NAFTA. And what it's going to do to Wisconsin is going to be unbelievable. It's going to be unbelievably bad. And you just can't let it happen. And what Cruz did, which is interesting, he's going to vote for it, all right? And he was always going to vote for it. Then he started to waver a little bit when he sees that people don't want it. But he did something worse. The worst thing about trade agreements, and specifically that one, is they don't talk about currency manipulation and currency devaluation, something I know more about than anybody. It is killing our country. We have countries like China, we have countries like Japan, and many others. I mean, almost everybody. And they use it brilliantly. I mean, China's a grandmaster, like a grandmaster chess player. They're a grandmaster at currency manipulation. And what they do is they make it impossible for our people to compete. And we don't even talk about that in the new agreement, in TPP. We don't even talk about it. We talk about it, obviously, in NAFTA, because that was just terrible, but that wasn't really the biggest problem with NAFTA. There were a lot of other problems, so that was a big one. But with Trans-Pacific, they're going to clean out our jobs. Look, these countries are taking our jobs. I got statistics on Wisconsin that are unbelievable, how jobs we're doing nicely, and everybody thinks they're doing well. But I had some statistics. I said you could write out some of the numbers. You look at your manufacturing jobs, you know better than anybody how they've gone to other countries. They're gone. I mean, literally gone. And it's thank you. I am going to fight for you. I am going to fight for you. I'm going to fight hard. And we don't ever quit. Sarah paid me the greatest compliment today. She said, "Where do you get your energy?" Now, who has more energy than Sarah Palin? She said to me, "Where do you?" Right? I mean, when Sarah says that, that's like Babe Ruth saying, "How do you hit the ball?" Right? So, but I just had this written out, and this is about Wisconsin trade facts. 20% of manufacturing jobs have left since 2000. Nobody knows that. We'll get you a job. We'll get you a lot of jobs. We'll bring our jobs back from China. We're bringing our jobs back from Mexico. We're going to stop people from moving to Mexico. Mexico is the new China. Remember that. Mexico is killing us at the border. And I have a great relationship with Mexico. I have a great relationship with the Hispanics. In Nevada, the state of Nevada, which I won by a landslide. I won almost all of these states by a landslide. But the state of Nevada won by a landslide. They did an exit poll. And the exit poll has me winning by a lot with the Hispanics. But listen to this. 20% of manufacturing jobs in Wisconsin have left since 2000. The Journal Sentinel, we all know what the Journal Sentinel is, okay? So I didn't write it. They wrote it. I didn't write it. I always like to say, I didn't write it. And maybe they're wrong, but it's surprising when you're Wisconsin chronically lags the rest of the United States in job creation, which is true. I've heard that. But you don't hear it. Nobody knows that. People think the governor, I have in my plane, I have a big plaque from the governor, very nice plaque. And people said, "Oh, do you want to bring this?" He gave me a plaque a year ago. This was before I beat him in the presidential. Let's face it. He'd probably be number one right now if I wasn't there. But you know what I did? I found out what's going on in Wisconsin. And I started reading statistics. And he said, "Oh, Democratic talking points." But it was true. They're talking points. They have to be talking points. And I'm not saying a bad guy. So he gave me a plaque because I gave him like a lot of money, like $50,000 or $100,000 to run. And I didn't know him, but I thought, I liked the idea that he was in there fighting. And all, he was fighting. It'd be nice if you could do it without so much fighting, get the same result or better. If you could get a better result without fighting, that would be great. Like I won in New Hampshire, and I spent $2 million, and Jeb spent $48 million. And I was in first place, and he was in almost last place. And I said, "Isn't that the way to do it? Right? Don't you want that? Who do you want as your president? No, who do you want?" Actually, I'm sort of proud of this because I actually did some ads in states. I won the state of Florida. I was, do we have some Florida people here? Are you from Florida? Great. Well, we won big. We won big, and I wasn't supposed to win Florida. In fact, they changed the rules in Florida about a year ago, because let me tell you, this party stuff is very, very tough. I'm not sure which is worse, dealing with the party people or dealing with the press. Because the press is tough. The press is really tough. So in Florida, what happened was very interesting. Florida, they had a rule that you get certain percentages, and they did it not for me, but you get certain percentages and you win. Now, they did this for Jeb Bush because he was going to win Florida. So if you got a certain number, you get the whole state. In other words, you get all 99 delegates. And they did that to knock other people out, and they didn't have me in mind, I think, because they did it a little before I came, but they did this to take care of Jeb at the time, and or Rubio. Because, you have a Senate, you had a governor. And then it turned out the polls were showing that I was way ahead in Florida, and I ended up winning. So I got 99 delegates or whatever. I got the whole thing. It's crazy. They didn't do that for me. They did that so the establishment guys would get all of the votes, and it worked out good. So, things tend to work out. You got to just sort of play it. The press is tough, though, because 2 weeks ago, I made a really good speech. The people were going crazy, ranting, raving. They're going crazy, up in the air. No protesters whatsoever, which is always nice. But ranting, and by the way, that's so overblown. We have 20,000 people in some of the stadiums, and we purposely want to keep some of this in smaller environments. You can check it. It's a little easy. But just so you know, that protest stuff is so overblown. If we have a person and 21,000 people in Orlando, we were in Orlando, Florida, we had such an unbelievable crowd in a big stadium complex. We had another one in a different state where it was thousands and thousands of people on a lawn. The convention center wasn't big enough, like 25,000 people, more than that. And they said, we had, I mean, what we did, Arizona, Sheriff Joe. Do we have Sheriff Joe? Sheriff Joe also endorses, right? If Sheriff Joe endorses you. So anyways, I make this speech, and